Greetings and welcome back to the You Are Not a Machine YouTube channel. Amusing Ourselves to Death, Public Discourse in the Age of Show Business, was first published in 1985, and then it was republished in 2005. For the 20th anniversary edition, Neil Postman's son, Andrew Postman, wrote an introduction to his father's book, and his chief interest was in trying to determine to what extent Postman's book was still relevant to the average American student in 2005. In polling students who had read his father's book, Andrew Postman found that his father's book was arguably more relevant and appreciated by students in 2005 than it had been in 1985. He offers a variety of feedback from students, but this one from one of their teachers is particularly insightful. Quote, "Kids come to the conclusion that TV is almost exclusively interested in presenting show business and sensationalism and in making money. Amazing as it seems, they had never realized that before." One teacher of Postman's book ran a 24-hour media fast experiment, which proved to be one of the most memorable experiences of students' time in their class. Quote, "I thought to do things I hadn't thought to do ever. The experience changes them. Some are so affected that they determine to fast on their own, one day a month." In concluding his introduction, Andrew Postman offers a number of insights that I think are valuable to mention here. 1. Quote, "Dad was a lover of history, a champion for collective memory, and what we now quaintly refer to as civilizing influences. But he did not live in the past. His book urges us to claim a way to be more alert and engaged." 2. Quote, "My father asked such good questions that they can be asked of non-television things, of all sorts of transforming developments and events that have happened since 1985. His questions can be asked about all technologies and media. What happens to us when we become infatuated with and then seduced by them? Do they free us or imprison us? Do they improve or degrade democracy? Do they make our leaders more accountable or less so? Our system more transparent or less so? Do they make us better citizens or better consumers? Are the trade-offs worth it?" 3. Quote, "A student of Dad's, a teacher himself, says his own students are more responsive to amusing ourselves to death, not less, than they were 5 or 10 years ago. Quote, when the book first came out, it was ahead of its time, and some people didn't understand its reach," he says. It's a 21st century book published in the 20th century. It has now been 40 years since the publication of Amusing Ourselves to Death, and 20 years since the 20th anniversary edition. As his son points out, at the heart of Postman's work are timeless questions regarding our relationship with technology, which Postman develops more broadly in his next book, Technopoly. These questions, along with Postman's works, become increasingly relevant as our lives become increasingly bound up with the technologies that we're creating and increasingly dependent on. Finally, it's important to point out that there is truly no putting the genie back in the bottle. As Andrew Postman wrote about his father, quote, "He did not live in the past. His book urges us to claim a way to be more alert and engaged. Neither Postman nor I imagine that we can somehow return to some kind of Edenic past. If we can't go back in time, what can we do? Firstly, we can be more alert and engaged about the nature of technology, how it affects our culture, society, and each of us individuals. I would encourage you to share these ideas with your friends and family. It is only through a shared awareness of what is happening that any kind of larger scale change can take place. That said, at the same time, the only real change that will take place individually and locally. Secondly, we can work on clarifying what kind of life we want and what our priorities are and where our real best interests lie. Most of us live lives that are not according to our vision for how life should be. And this is only natural, as this is the world that we have inherited. It is only when we have clarity as to what our priorities are that we can begin to shape our lives in different ways. It took us generations to get into the mess in which we find ourselves, and it will take us generations to get out of this mess. All good things take time. Finally, once we understand how technology influences us, what is at stake, and what we really want, what will actually provide fulfillment, we can make life choices that incorporate technology informed by this understanding. It is our goal to discover, to ask, and to attempt to answer these existential questions. Happily, we have guides who have considered these questions already, and we can learn from them. This is why we're looking at Neil Postman and his excellent book, Amusing Ourselves to Death. For our next installment, please read Neil Postman's brief foreword, as well as Chapter 1 of the 20th anniversary edition of Neil Postman's Amusing Ourselves to Death. As I mentioned last week, please join the conversation on X, or simply comment below this video. Or again, I am on the other platforms linked below this video. So if you're not on X, maybe you can find me somewhere else. As always, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. Follow me on X and on other platforms, and download the How Did We Get Here reading list. Again, the link is also below the video. So I hope you found this introduction to Neil Postman's book interesting, and I will look forward to seeing you next week.